craziness with the RFK and all that going on. But the DNC was the big catalyst here, right? Because Kamala got accepted. Tim Walz took the acceptance speech. There were a lot of celebrities there. The roll call there was awesome. They did it like a party. So it was a lot of, so it was wild. It was like really, it was really intense for like 4 days. And they crushed it in the ratings, and that's part of what's freaking out the Republicans and Trump. And so I'm just going to jump into this story real quick here.
A re-energized Democratic Party managed to turn that enthusiasm and support into a win, at least when it comes to TV ratings. Every night of the DNC had more Americans tuning in compared to the corresponding night at the RNC. CNN's media correspondent Hadass Gold joins us now. Hadass, what do the numbers show?
Well, the numbers show, this is according to Nielsen, so across the television networks that Nielsen ranks, the DNC outshone the RNC every single night. You can see there all 4 nights of the DNC outshone the RNC when it comes to the ratings. Across the 4 nights, the average.
So I just want to get into this. This is the Nielsen ratings. This is television ratings. Okay? Now, you got to remember, for the Republicans, especially Trump, most of their voters, the big share of them, are over 50. So most of their views are going to be television. For the DNC, for the Democrats, especially Kamala, most of her viewers are going to be under 50. And especially a lot of the new people coming in that are registering to vote, that are voting for Kamala, that we know for sure, are under 35. And they're not watching it on television, they're watching it online. So that's not being even represented by this graph. So we're not even looking at the online viewership, which we know is going to be way bigger for the Democrats than the Republican. Just the television, they kick their ass.
Also, I think it's fair to point out what we point out about a lot of the polls. Being the hardcore Republicans, the hardcore Trump supporters are the ones that tend to come out fervently wanting to support this stuff. And that's still not showing as being sufficient in these polls about the national conventions, right?
Yeah.
If there's I'm excited about him, they sure weren't tuned in to watch the convention, which is almost surprising. You would think that if he's really got such great, wonderful numbers, then you would think that we would be seeing it reflected there as well.
Well, you'd think, yeah, at the very least, they'd be crushing him in the TV ratings.
You would think in the TV ratings, because, that's a pretty easy place for his people to show up, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, not a lot of them are doing it online like the Democratic constituencies are. But a lot of this keys into this other factor, which is why I don't think we're even really seeing what the voting is actually looking like at the polls realistically yet. And we're still missing a chunk, and part of that leads me to believe that is this. So Harris, this is Reuters, Harris exclusive, Harris election effort raises around $500 million in 1 month. $500 million in a month. That's almost as much as Trump owes the state of New York in legal fees from his judgment.
Right.
But yeah, so Chicago, here we go. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris' election efforts has raised around $500 million since she became the Democratic presidential candidate. An unprecedented money haul that reflects donor enthusiasm going into the November 5th election. So this is unprecedented. It's never been beaten before. She just set the record. 4 sources familiar with the fundraising effort told Reuters that figure had been banked for Harris in the 4 weeks since she jumped into the race on July 21st. Campaign cash is critical for advertising, blah, blah, blah. The other thing about it is a lot of these donors, a big chunk of them, are people that never donated to Biden or have never donated before. So these are all new donors, or a big chunk of them are. So we haven't even seen yet the sort of the disaffected voters and the swaying voters and the non-information voters that generally don't do polls and aren't being reflected, that are now jumping on board. Finally, somebody different than one of the old guys. So, That's a huge, huge boon. So she is really crushing it in this election. I mean, I think as we see, the polls are going to start to get away further and further. And like we were saying last time, the fact that Texas and Florida are even on the board is ridiculous.
Yeah, how weird.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, can we just have a moment where we contemplate a universe where the Republican Party has fucked up so much that those states are even the most remote of consideration of being swing states?
Yeah, it's shocking. Shouldn't even be there.
It's my
Yeah.
party's screwed up if that's what's happened.
Oh yeah, you're in deep shit if that's what's going on. But they.